Have you ever had that moment where you realize that you're not actually living your life? You're just numbing your way through it, scrolling, staying busy, filling every quiet moment. And when you finally do get a chance to slow down or celebrate, it's with alcohol or weed or whatever else takes the edge off. Friends, it's not because you're broken, but because being fully present feels uncomfortable. If you've been feeling stuck, not because you don't want more, but because you can't get quiet enough to hear what it is that you actually want, this episode is for you. Welcome back to Becoming Unbound. I'm Carly Butler, and this podcast is all about breaking free from the old patterns that keep us stuck and living on autopilot, even when we know we're meant for more. Today, I'm sitting down with Luciana, a powerhouse vocalist, sound journey guide, yoga teacher, and the founder of New Love and Sunflower Garden Festival here in Toronto, which is a consciously curated, alcohol-free music and wellness festival designed to bring people back into their bodies, their joy, and real human connection. Now, Luciana didn't create sober spaces just because it was trendy. She was creating them because she watched how these distractions, especially substances, keep us disconnected from ourselves, the music, and from the lives that we were truly meant to live. In this conversation, we talk about how alcohol, drugs, and constant stimulation can keep us stuck in those very same and old identities, patterns, relationships, comfort zones, and how choosing to have clarity around those things can completely change your trajectory. We also dive into faith, leadership, and what it truly means to commit to your mission so fully that you don't even need a plan B. So here's the question. What if the thing that you reach for to take the edge off is the very thing keeping you from becoming unbound? All right, friends, let's dive into this conversation. All right, Luciana, welcome to Becoming Unbound. It's so good to have you on the podcast today.
So good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Awesome. We have been sort of milling around each other in the same festival groups, different community sort of spaces that I feel like we've been both a part of. And it's a really beautiful community. But what really brought me to you when I first saw your festival that you have created in Toronto, one of the posts that you created was that it was a festival built around community, but also a space where musicians, artists could come together and experience a different level of festival that was either sober, curious, or completely sober. And that's what I wanted to start off with today, just because that is what drew me in, because I've been a part of this community. We've had a couple other community members on the podcast, and it's a really interesting new space. And like it dives right into a freeing of ourselves, like in this new experience of festivals and community events. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about how you built that, your ideas around this, and like how that came to manifest?
Yeah, of course. Like everything that I choose to create, it comes from real life experience and it's often something that I've gone through and embodied. And so my journey into the alcohol free space started 11 years ago, where I built my first brand, which was New Love. And that started off because I was seeking spaces to dance in my 20s where I wasn't in a bar filled with drunk men, where it was a safe space where I could just dance and be free. And at the time, I had already been sharing sound healing for a number of years and was already a yoga teacher. So, me doing what I do best, I love to blend and fuse my worlds. I've been a singer for over 15 years, performing globally. So, it was really about bringing my worlds together back then and creating an alcohol free space that had wellness at the forefront, but allowed people to have like a dance party. Like we used to have house parties, and I always loved the house party and wanted to kind of bring that feeling for myself, but in a space and place where others could join me and we could dance and have fun. So that whole journey really started, crazy to
Mhm.
say, 11 years ago now. And being part of creating the alcohol free movement here in the city and creating spaces that were designed that way. And back then, I was aware that the event I had put together, which was a monthly, Toronto's kind of first yoga cacao dance party, we were bringing to the people a mini festival. And I was aware of this. Like, we had live musicians during yoga, live DJs and musicians, then sound healing, vendors, live artists, face painting, food, kombucha. We had all the things, a lounge. And it was back then that I realized, wow, I'm kind of bringing to life a mini festival in 5 hours. Um, I'm going to make a festival one day. And fast forward 10 years, last year we birthed the first Sunflower Garden Fest, which took on an evolved mission that I started with 10 years ago. And having been in the music industry for so many years and ebbed in and out of it, in different ways, I really, really recognize where we're kind of stuck in that industry. And so, as a musician, as someone who absolutely lives and breathes and loves music, it's like in every cell of my being, creating spaces where I could be a bridge and invite in the community that already maybe knows these things, but also share it with my industry folk, right? So, managers, artists, DJs operating in the mainstream, um, industry. And, what do we know of most concerts and festivals that are mainstream? You've got your bar, most people are completely wasted, and there's a lot of drugs going around. And it's just like what we've called normal. And as an artist who pours her heart and soul and life force into creating her music. I'd play gigs all around Toronto and all around the world, and a lot of venues. Most of the people who'd come out to see me would be pretty much drunk before my set would start, and they would miss the entire message of the music and what I had written. And that is something I had observed for a long time. So, I chose to create these kind of safe spaces that were alcohol free. I called them conscious concerts in a way because I wanted to show people the power of music and that they could feel connected and feel joy and feel themselves without having to disassociate and, indulge in these things that really disconnect us rather than unite us. And there's so much power to music. So when I chose to really take on building a festival, which was no small thing, that was a really important part of my message, and inviting in families to be part of it. So
Yeah.
creating this safe space for our children to join us, for the young and the old to be in one space and place, because honestly, we need to learn from each other. Right? Children have so much wisdom and medicine for us, just as like our elders have for us. And just like all of us, no matter what stage of life we're in, we're teachers for each other. And if we keep being separate, we're not learning and we're not actually growing at the rate maybe we could be, because there is teaching for all of us when we're together.
Wow. That is so powerful. Like, from the moment you started talking till the end, that is incredible. Like, that is such a beautiful message. And what really, there's two things that stood out to me there was, first of all, the fact that people would come to your concerts, to your shows, see or a night where you are playing and be wasted for most of it is wild to me. And from the artist lens, I feel like you're kind of like opening this window to be like, yeah, I'd perform for mostly people who were not of their right mind. Like, that's wild. And it goes to show me that we are so caught up in like the cogs of society's wheels that like it feels like we almost don't have a choice but to get to those states to try to disassociate from the
Yeah.
pressures of society. And then, so now we're just like on our free time walking around in these like disassociated states, numbing the feelings that our like livelihoods have kind of like pushed us towards, and then we go out to do the things that would give us bliss feelings, joy, happiness, connection, and we're wasted.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of ways in which we disassociate, and we all do it, right?
Mhm.
For some people, they lean more on, their drink, or maybe it's tobacco or weed. For some people, it's scrolling. For some
Yeah.
people, it's binge watching TV. And like, I've been there. I've been there with every single one of those that I've named. I know them well. And I know I'm very consciously aware of when I'm in that state. And sometimes I allow myself to be in that state because sometimes we're just so stimulated, we need to kind of disassociate from certain
Mhm.
things, or it's part of our process. So there's no judgment, no matter where you're at in your journey, right? And I've been able to create these things because I know my own darkness. I've been through those layers of my own self. And I made these conscious decisions to, maybe create space for myself where I could be celebrating and be dancing and be enjoying music and feel the high that gets created when you are moving your body. Because movement, and when you're singing with a record that you really love and you're in a room full of people who are dancing, we are actually creating a vibration together, and we're actually moving the fluid and the cells within our body. So you'll actually feel this high, and you'll be like, am I on something? No, you're not. You're literally high on life, but it's also a collective vibration. Like, we get influenced by the space around us so much more than most people are aware. And this is why it's, they always talk about your circle and the company you keep, and like, who are the 5 people that you're closest to, because you become the vibration you frequent. And so when you place yourself intentionally in a different space, so let's say you've never ever gone to an event like maybe the ones that I curate that are alcohol free, that are, down to the musical acts. I'm curating, who are they? What's their message? What's their vibration? What's the feeling that I get? Like, I'm curating everything to a T, from like the facilitators to the types of vendors, right? So whether it's a festival or a smaller event that I run, every element's been thought about because I understand energetic curation. I understand vibration, being a musician and sound healer. So now let's imagine you've never gone to something like this and you're like, man, this is some hippy dippy stuff. Like, this is way too out there. And I get it. It can completely seem that way. And it can be very uncomfortable if you go for the first time to something different. Anything you do that's different, your mind's going to resist, right? So imagine you place yourself in this new set and setting, and you're dealing with the discomforts, and the mind's going crazy, and you're hearing like, what the heck am I doing here? Why am I here? I need to leave. And you're fighting yourself on your future self, which is an interesting one, right? We are never going to grow if we stay comfortable. We only grow when we push ourselves into discomfort, and that can be leaning into new things, new community, new experiences. And really, I don't consider myself like a hippy dippy. I consider myself, um, again, like a hybrid. Like, I know a lot of the wisdom and I've had a lot of experiences, but I am very much rooted and grounded in who I am. And I would say understanding the importance of my role being a bridge, welcoming and inviting people in. So now you arrive in this space and it's all new for you. And for the first time in your life, you are dancing to your favorite DJ completely sober. Or you're listening to a band that you're hearing for the first time and singing along and looking around you and just seeing smiling faces and radiance and presence. And you have a conversation with a person you've never met, and you open up in a way you never have, and you surprise yourself in all these moments because you've given yourself the opportunity to do something completely out of your comfort zone, but something that can't harm you. Like, there's nothing dangerous about placing yourself in an environment that is curated and that is thoughtful and that is consciously designed. And, we all have different definitions for what we think is mindful and conscious. And so when I say consciously designed, I mean it from the lens of being very, very thoughtful with who, what, where, when, and how, right? So I described that a bit earlier with thinking really and feeling really intently about artists that are being brought in and who they are and their message and my resonance to that. So, I mean, you're really, in a way, in truth, getting things through my lens, like filtered through what I
Mm.
consider to be um, a high level of certain practices and musicianship, and they align with the values that I have. So like if we have shared values, you might find you love the experience. And if you're like, I don't even know what my values are around this, and you step into my world, you might be like, wow, actually this is really important to me, like clean food at an event, like conscious brands. Wow. There is that. Like I love exposing people to new things. It's one of my favorite things about being the bridge into different worlds. It's like I love helping people discover the organic farmer and the woman or the man who made this soap by hand, and everything's all natural and good for you, good for your home, good for your kids. And that's really how I look at it: is it good for the earth? Is it good for you? Is it good for your children? Is it good for us? And are we moving forward as a society in a way that is thinking about the future, in a way that's honoring the earth, in a way that allows us to live in harmony with ourselves and the earth?
Wow. That is really powerful. And I like how you've taken us through the like, how would it feel? Because I think so many people are kind of stuck. They hear about this like sober, conscious sort of thing, or like there's this deep inner knowing that you're like, being able to experience life in kind of like a raw way and go to these events and things like this. Like, I think there's like this almost this longing to do that. And I think one of the biggest things is feeling like you can't because it's intimidating, or like, ooh, what if someone, looks at me funny while I'm dancing, or like I won't be able to dance. Like I'm just stuck in the only way I dance is if I'm, had like a bit of a social lubricant or something like that. Like I totally get that feeling. And I love what you said that like you've been there and I've been there. And it's this, you can only know what it's like on the other side if you have been in that place where you do feel like, oh my gosh, I could never dance on a dance floor without a couple drinks, or I could never go to like a big festival without some drugs, or even like there's so many things that sentences and statements you say like I could never do that, that's just not part of me. But I think one of the biggest steps is like just go and show up to one of these events, and like it doesn't have to be the full festival, it could be maybe that smaller 5-hour event where like there's nothing there that's going to harm you if you show up and you're like, okay, I showed up. Like, that's all I'm going to do today. And then the next time you go, maybe you're going to like dance a little bit. And I think it's like taking these little baby steps and being, I love the word like sober curious, like
Mhm.
curious about what this feels like. And then like it would be so cool to catch that frequency where you step away and you're like, whoa, I kind of feel like I did take something or do something. And I love that you think so much about that. Um, Now I'm curious, was there a moment or like some time in your life where you just knew you maybe had to change something that wasn't working? Like, was there a sign, symptom that you were like, ooh, I can't do this, like Toronto bar scene at midnight and everyone's like wasted? Like, was there a moment that you were like, ooh, yeah, this has to shift?
Oh, well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you start a whole non-alc movement 11 years ago if if something didn't happen.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's one of those things too where when you start, I think the word, I'm gonna kind of go back and then go forward.
Yeah.
When you talk about being sober curious, yeah, there's a beautiful movement happening, and it excites me because as you know, it's been a part of my life for so long, and I had to be very rigid at one point in my life where it was like, not a drop, not a drink, like nothing,
Mhm.
right? And I had to do that to like repair the damage I had done on my body as a young person, right? Like, so to answer your question, yeah, in my teens, like late teens, I was introduced to partying and like drugs and smoking and all these things. And I went like all in. I was like, yes, blackout drunk from a very young
Mhm.
age every weekend, and then when I went to university, it was a whole other slew of things that I was introduced to. And to be honest, it wasn't until I devoted my life to music and I found my purpose and I chose my purpose, that pushed me to say goodbye to everything. I left school, pursued my artistry, and with that,
Wow.
it required me to change my entire lifestyle to heal my voice. I had developed something called nodules, and those are caused through inflammation, dehydration, and a lot of my lifestyle was, causing that. When you're drinking, you're dehydrated. Too much coffee, you're dehydrated. Chewing gum, you're dehydrated. I learned so much, and I had to go through an entire year of basically detoxing, vocal rehabilitation, and removing every single thing that was inflammatory and dehydrating to heal my voice so I could sing because that was my calling. And I lost all my friends. I stopped partying and I didn't care because I had found me and I had found something that inspired me to keep going, that allowed me to share my message, allowed me to share my voice, allowed me to share my story and connect to people in a really real, authentic way. And that's why music means so much to me. It literally saved my life. I was going in a trajectory that if I continued that way, I probably wouldn't be here today, to be honest.
Wow.
And so music is the core of everything I do. That's why in all my events, there's music. Even in my wellness, like sound healing, I'm singing. And so when I say I curate with intention, it's because I do. I live and breathe it. And it's because I've had experiences that led me to do this. It comes from a true place, not a gimmicky place. I'm not a bandwagoner when it comes to the things I create. It's really like, this has helped me. This is what I've done. This is what I believe in. This is who I've become. And these things helped me move through my darkness. And so I want to create a space that maybe helps you do the same. It may not, right? And like we talked about how there's so many events now, and there's so much for you to try. So if you've never gone, like honestly, there's a whole bunch of options and you get to just dip in and out and find what resonates with you. And that's the beauty of having all these different events and communities is, you might come to my event and be like, meh, wasn't totally my vibe. And it's like, cool, no hard feelings. And you might go to someone else's and it might be your vibe. And you never know, you might come to mine and it might be your vibe. You just don't know unless you go, right? Um, and so, I'm still to this day in the music industry. Like I DJ at all kinds of festivals around the world every year. I sing on all kinds of stages and um I've produced events for a decade. So it's allowed me to really blend my knowledge and experience as a human who's been through stuff, as an artist who's been on many, many stages and has shared the stage with a lot of big acts. And then as a person in wellness who has been a leader, a community builder, and curated experiences to help transform and hold the space for you to move through hard things. And so when you put all that together, there's a really, really powerful and beautiful energy that is there. But for me, again, it's all rooted in the music because I understand how much we lean on the music. Like you have a soundtrack to your life, and most people don't realize it. But if you actually start to pay attention to your day and be like, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, what are you listening to? Right? And if your soundtrack to your day is the stuff you're scrolling and that's
Mm.
dominant, I would say, pay attention. And why don't you like try to flip that script and maybe tap into something. Maybe it's a podcast that is part of your sound track for the day. Maybe you start discovering new artists and you let like positive music or vibrational music transform your morning. Sometimes I start my day and I'm just like, I need to be amped up this morning, and I throw on my favorite house records and I'm just dancing, or I'm driving to that meeting and I'm like, I need energy, I need life force. Music will change your vibration. And so, paying attention to the music you have in your world presently, and or the sounds, right? Because it can also be, like I said, is the scrolling and the TV most of your soundtrack? Can you replace that with music or something that's going to inspire you or help you rest or help you feel. If you really need to feel, music is a powerful way for you to feel.
Yeah, that's incredible. It kind of makes me think of like, I mean, music is so part of it, but like I think in those moments where you are going to something new and you don't have like a substance in you, there's almost this silence that is uncomfortable. And I think we're so afraid of being in that silent space where there's nothing to fill it in. And I think you said, like, you're so right. Like, are we filling that space with just scrolling or TV or something? Or is it like intentional music? Is it your thoughts and the words and affirmations that you're telling yourself every single day that you're having a conversation in your brain? Like, you bring up so many good points that music is so important, and I'm so happy that, like, it changed your life, and
Mhm.
what that brings up for me is that, like, you found your purpose, which then led you to heal yourself, but then find, like, this amazing version of freedom because you got to follow your passion and your why, like, your North Star, your everything, and I think when people get so far away from that or just have no idea where they are or what path they want to be on or desire to be on, it gets easy to, fill yourself with all these numbing agents and things that like, and even just, yeah, like you said, scrolling, TV, friendships that don't serve you or like relationships, like you lost all your friends, but were those really good for you and moving towards your like purpose and soul mission in this life. And yes, you might have to let them go in this place. But look, I can imagine that you have filled your life with so many other beautiful connections and getting
Mhm.
closer to your why and giving it all up for your why saved you. Like that's such a beautiful story. And I feel like so many people would resonate that and with that. And if you move closer to your purpose, then all of a sudden it becomes easy to let go of the things that are numbing us, distracting us, and keeping us disassociated from the life we're meant to be living.
Totally. And I think like I want to be mindful of the word easy because it wasn't easy. It was
Yeah, most challenging thing ever.
uh-huh. But what was easier was the choice, right?
Right.
The choice became a no-brainer. The process was challenging and still is, right? Like when you stand in your truth, when you um go for something maybe outside of the norm, which has been me my entire life. Ask my family. I've not followed the status quo ever. And I live a very like big and loud life on my terms. And it's come with a lot of struggles. It's come with a lot of um, my own judgment and judgment from others. Even creating a festival, like that was a whole new chapter and it's opened a whole new chapter for me. It's pushed me to do a lot of hard things. It was a very challenging year to grow through because there was so much I'd never done before that all of a sudden I was taking on mostly on my own. I had a very amazing small and mighty team that helped me do some really important things, but 95% of all of the things was on my shoulders and arguably it was my baby, so I was happy to do that. Um, but, it came with that experience came again with a whole it was perfectly timed with the year of the snake this year, which was the shedding, right? I had to shed yet again another layer of myself. The people pleasing, the uh, perfectionism, all of the things that, maybe have been holding me back in terms of some of my expression. It's like, well, if this is going to get done, it's not going to be perfect year one. That's okay. There's a lot I'm going to improve on, and a lot of the process was messy too, right? Like having to stand in leadership in a new way I never have, like having to repair relationships, having to let some friendships and relationships go that really weren't in resonance or really weren't like cheering me on towards this different greater version of myself, and having to accept
Mm.
all of those things, right? It was challenging. And yet it made me stronger, and it helped me go deeper into my faith again, which in this chapter has saved me. So it's interesting, right? It's like there's a few, I would say, north stars that get kind of grouped together, and as we get older and we learn more things, that direction, like certain things kind of come to the same North Star to give us that unwavering direction. And even though it's scary or even though it's hard, um, the choice is clear and you choose it, even though it's unknown and even though it could be painful and even though it could be challenging. And you know all this, but you're like, but I have to step in and say yes.
Yeah. Oh, that knowingness that you have a choice, but, like, you don't have a choice. So I wanna ask, I'm really curious about, like, those moments of pushback because I think that when we start to recognize, like, "Ooh, this isn't working for me anymore. I need to change this," we all of a sudden, like, pretty much immediately, once you start voicing that you know you need to change something, you're going to get a lot of these people and influences in your life being like, "Oh, well, that means you're gonna change, and now you're not now that friendship isn't serving me anymore." So talk to us about that, any those moments, I'm sure there's many, of that pushback from friends, family, people who thought you were nuts for doing that or taking on different projects. What does that feel like? And then how do you kinda just keep reminding yourself that, like, it's okay and people are gonna try to influence you all sorts of different ways, but how do you stay true to that?
Honestly, I think one of the biggest things I not learned this year, but like had to dial into this year was moving quietly. And
Mm,
so, I learned that like the first bit of that lesson when I was a teen, right? Like a late teen, and I'd get excited about things and the judgments from the people around me would like shrink my feeling. I would still go for it, right? So I learned that resilience and I learned, build in silence. Um, and so I actually did that with the festival for a while, until I had certain things ready. I mean, there was obviously people I spoke to, people I was like that I really respected. I was like, I wanted their feedback or I wanted their
mm,
help or I wanted their, support or whatever it was. And I mean, that can also be a dangerous thing because there were moments where I would share with certain friends that I loved that immediately it was like, well, that's a big that's a big goal. I don't know if it's gonna happen. And all of a sudden, like I can't tell you how many people early on were filling me with their doubt, like with
mm,
their projection of like what's possible. And it definitely clouded a little bit of my mental space. Like it was kind of like, wait, should I do this? Should I not do this? But I kept pushing through anyways because I knew it was for me. Like I knew it was something I had to do. And there's so many like missions interwoven to Sunflower Garden. It's not even funny. So it's so not about me and it's so about me holding the container for this to exist for others. And um it's so much bigger than I think I even understand at this very moment. But yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky thing, I think, to share before you're fully embodied. So I would say don't share until it's
mhm,
like in your body. And you know, I guess I didn't share before I was embodied. Like even though I got doubt, I still moved forward. And I remember I hit this moment of a point of no return. Like when the first
mhm.
like big deposits went out and I was like, oh shit, there's no turning back now. Like this is it. Like if I was one foot in, one foot out before, I was doing this and kind of scared. It was like, I am still scared, even more scared because there's a lot of money on the line, but like, there's no turning back now. like, like we are in it. And that was scary too. And right down to the wire, like right down to the day of, and like all the things that I had to deal with, all the fires I had to put out, like all of the things you kind of can't predict, but have to be prepared for
Mhm.
that take place when you're running a big event and dealing with a lot of people and their expectations and all the things. Like it's a lot. But I would say when it comes to friends and family, like you have to know so deeply in yourself, like who you are and why, like what you want and why it's important to you, because everyone is going to have their own opinions. Everyone is going to project their own stuff. And it's not necessarily like it could be for a lot of reasons. It could be because they envy you. It could be because they're just trying to protect you. We usually family, it's like they kind of don't get it and they just want you to be good. There's a lot of things that can come up for people. But if you are not solid in who you are and what you're creating, you will get swayed in other directions. And that's just the truth. And so I will tell you, I had many people come at me with a lot of doubts, with a lot of opinions, and I just stayed strong in like my vision, in what I know. Also, I've had 10 years of experience running things. I've been doing versions of this, not the same, for a long time. Um, but like, I know what's important to me. I know my why. I know like who I am, and who I am is also constantly evolving, but the core values are always steadfast. So, um, there's a certain like strength and resilience that you have to have for any kind of entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And especially knowing um, when you're elevating to new versions of yourself, like for me, it was like new levels and layers of leadership, business, doing a whole bunch of things I've never done. And it required me to step into all these new versions of myself. And with that, it meant honestly disappointing a lot of people. It meant being okay with saying no, being okay with saying that doesn't work for me, being okay with saying, thanks for your opinion, but I'm going to do it anyways. And that was like a challenge at first because, recovering people pleaser over here. But I learned that, and I had a couple really great mentors along the way. And remember my one mentor, Joe Fletcher, he was saying, Luciana, if you aren't disappointing someone, you're doing it wrong. Like if you're talking to agents, if you're talking to people and they're just straight up happy all the time with you, you're doing it wrong. And I was like, wow. And he gave me a mantra to say to myself, um, every day, which helped me a lot to kind of get through this like people pleasing state, which, yeah, I have a lot of gratitude for that man and like the time and energy he poured in. He's an amazing event producer from the States, talent buyer, um, really respected human in the industry of event production and festival production. Um, and yeah, he was such a key part of me getting through a lot of the challenges because, I never dealt with agents and contracts and lawyers for other artists. I've always been the artist. So all of a sudden I'm in another seat and I'm like, and it taught me a lot about the importance of who your agents are as an artist and that they
Mm.
represent you well when even in communication with someone who's looking to hire you because it can rub you, it can really distort the relationship.
Wow. That's an incredible feat to take on. And knowing that you had sort of done that. And then like you said, you're creating these little mini 5-hour festivals. And then you took this massive leap into something that you probably knew what it involved because you'd been an attendee, you'd been an artist, you'd been probably like part of the different processes of festivals, um, and bigger events. So you took that big kind of leap of faith. What did that take inside of you? Like what was that mindset that you had to go into that leap of faith with?
I think well, I mean, you say leap of faith, and really, like, I couldn't have done it without my faith. I couldn't
Mm.
have done it without deepening into my connection with God and knowing that literally the only way I was going to have this happen on the timeline that it happened, like, we didn't have a venue until April. The festival
Wow.
happened August 21st. So it was like I had 4 months to finalize all the programming, create all the content, market it, and sell it. And we did it. But I tell you, I worked like 18-hour days. I was more stressed than I'd probably ever been in my life and slept the least. And somehow on the event day, I had like walkie-talkie in one hand, cell phone in the other, and I hosted it, curated it, played a set, and did the opening ceremony. And I was just like, yeah, I would not be able to even do that. People are like, you have so much energy. I'm like, yeah, it's because I'm plugged into God. Like,
Mhm.
it's not my energy. Like, I have so much more energy because I have my faith. And obviously I take care of my body. I don't party. Like I eat well. I sleep. I cleanse. I'm on a parasite cleanse now. Like it's, you take care of the vessel, right? And when you take care of the vessel and you operate from a place of faith and you are disciplined, and I knew this was part of my mission that was gifted to me. So the mindset was like, this is not mine. This is God's mission that I was gifted, and it gets to come through my lens and through my life experiences. And that's why I was chosen to bring it to the people, because I had the right ingredients, let's say, right? I had prepared myself through my life's work, prepared myself through the experiences I've had to understand the dark, to understand, where maybe a lot of people are coming from. That's why I keep saying this word bridge, because it's like I was there.
Mhm.
And I'm now here. I'm not like completely on the other side of, maybe a place that might seem too far for you to come to, right? It's like it's wholesome, but it's not like way, way out there, in terms of you could step in, like the people who attend my events are very much entrepreneurs, business owners, families. Like, so you got like your regular people, you come to my yoga programs at Trillium Park, and it's a pretty good demonstration of my demographics. It's like women, men, all kinds of humans, just young to old, all kinds of entrepreneurial or business or work backgrounds. Like, it's not like just these people come here. No, it's a bit of everybody. Um, so the mindset I had to have was that there's no plan B. And I always say this to people, because I think when you're one foot in, one foot out, it's easy to walk away and you give yourself that excuse. That's when you can have a lot of excuses, right? You can be like, well, and you have your fucking safety net, excuse my French, but like you have your safety net. And so you're just like, you're not committed, right? So
Mhm.
when you take a leap of faith, you are committed to that path. And I think this is where a lot of people even fall off with themselves and faith, or themselves and bettering themselves. It's like, it's too easy for some people to just go backwards, whether it's back to your ex or back to your bad habits or back to, all the things that aren't good for you, because you're not committed to your path forward. So it was hard. They call it doing the work because it is work. It is so much effort every day, every day. Okay. It's an everyday thing. Choosing to better yourself, choosing to surrender. So when I say surrender, I mean, if my brain is trying to figure it out, I'm doing it wrong.
Mm.
The surrender is the faith piece. It's like, am I giving it to God and praying on like praying for an answer? Like, show me the way, really, because what do I know?
That's beautiful. And what I'm getting from that, what I'm hearing is that it's like, if you feel the calling, go do the thing, the commitment that gets you just over the edge where you're like, oh yeah, I just did it. And there's really no turning back now. I kind of can't, I could, but like I've either invested in something, I've made the payment, I've had the consulting call, and now someone's going to be sort of like there looking to be like, hey, you got to show up now. And then you also don't have to necessarily worry about like, well, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. Like, I think we all have this idea of like, okay, I could plan this event, or I could plan out my future or a next job or a next relationship. But I think once you make that commitment, you kind of go, okay, I did the thing. There's no more excuses. And now I am giving it up to God or to my faith or to whatever word works for our listeners. Like, once you make that big committed move, you don't have to necessarily worry about the how and the pieces, because sometimes making those moves, they're not ours. It's just like you said, it's been gifted to you as a mission to fulfill, and all of the right pieces and people will come into place with a lot of hard work and probably some sleepless nights once you get those little pieces of the puzzle going. It's not like you just sit there and everything gets dropped in your lap. There's a lot of going out and getting what you want. but all of those pieces will come together when you're in alignment and not distracted by all of these like things around us. And I think that brings us kind of right back to the beginning of like, if we can start to let go of those things that keep us trapped, stuck, like phones, extracurriculars and alcohol and all those things that like just stunt us, numb us, and they might be good for a season or a period of time. But like if we can start to let those things go and get curious, like it's so amazing to know what's on the other side of this leap of faith. It's so cool.
Mhm. Oh my gosh, yeah, and I love that you clarified because I was gonna clarify it too, but yeah, you surrender, but you still have to do. You still have to take action. You still have to move forward. I just mean you surrender the doubt, you surrender the fear, you surrender the complacency, you surrender the things that are getting in the way, and you
Mm,
commit to it anyways. And you take the steps every day. And like there were times where I was just um like asking for support from God, the divine, to help lift the burdens that I've been carrying that weren't mine to carry, because we carry so much more than we're aware of as people. And we love our loved ones, our friendships, our families, and sometimes we have all this stuff that we're holding and we're not even aware.
mm.
And when you lighten the load and you realize like, oh, it's actually not even mine to hold, your capacity grows. And the distractions are a big one. So I love that you mentioned that, because when we're distracted, we cannot get the clarity. We cannot get the mission. We cannot get the download for what we're here to do, or we can continuously convince ourselves not to do the thing we know we're supposed to do, right? Um and yeah, my journey with alcohol and why I chose to have these spaces be alcohol free specifically is because I understand energetically how they interact with our vibration, how they interact with our energy field. And you want to have like one drink, you want to enjoy your life. Yeah, we're human. You can do that.
Mhm.
Yes,
Yeah.
like I think everything in balance, but it's when from a societal place we've normalized, you know, hey, when you go out and socialize with a friend, you got to have a drink in your hand. And one turns
Mhm.
into four, and four turns into I'm going to bed feeling not great and I'm waking up with a hangover. And it's like we've normalized these things to a point where people don't question it. And so this is the space I'm shifting, is to be like, hey, why don't we try doing it without that? And wake up the next day after a great night with your friends or a great day or a great concert, whatever it is, and feel amazing and feel connected and have had deep conversations. And um, they call these things spirits. And it really is, English is one of the most fascinating play on words. And so you look at alcohol and we call all these things spirits. And literally, quite literally, when you're drinking all of that alcohol, in an abundance, it's shifting your vibration, and it's creating space for spirits to come and attach to you. And that's where like the darkness or the anger and all these
Mhm.
these like things can come out when we are drunk or over drinking, and it's keeping us feeling, not great, maybe even for a few days as we're getting older. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, hangovers, I never used to have hangovers in my 20s. And then you hear people in their 30s, 40s, 50s drinking, and they're like, I'm knocked out for a week after one night. It's like maybe we should reconsider those choices and choose differently for ourselves, for our future selves.
Yeah, and that time that we have here, it's so precious. And I think not only are we becoming numb and we can't, I love that you said, like, you can't hear your mission. You can't hear those downloads because it's so cluttered with scrolling and doubts and like all these things. But if you can kind of start to let those distractions go away, there's room and space for clarity and purpose to come in. I love that. Um, as we wrap up here, is there any last thoughts that you want to leave our listeners with that like just you think that someone needs to hear out there?
Hmm. I want to share just that no dream is too big and it's never too late. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, where you come from. Anything is possible and you can really do anything. Um, it's going to take courage, it's going to take commitment, it's going to take strength and perseverance, but the outcome will be so worth it and you'll never regret taking a chance on yourself. And it could be something small, it could be something big, but it really starts with you and everything starts with you. So if there's anything you want, anything you've been dreaming of, any change you want to see in the world around you, it starts with you.
Beautiful. There is no market that's not saturated because they don't have you yet, right? And you are like a living, breathing proof of that. That there are lots of festivals going on in Canada and Ontario, Toronto, and I'm so happy that you took that on and to do that because it just there's nothing else like Sunflower Garden or like the events that you run. Like they're so uniquely yours and your pattern and your frequency. And I think that's so important for the listeners to know is that like yes, there might be a lot of something else that you do, but there's nothing like what you do to like make that and bring that event or that thing or that job or that service and birth that to the world. That's beautiful. If
Mhm.
the listeners want to find out more about you and your offerings, where can they go?
For all things Luciana and learning about me and my personal offerings, you can find me online. My website is Luciana, Luciana with love.com. Luciana with love is also my handle everywhere. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I have music, sound healing albums. I talk about all things like wellness, and my yoga programs, my charity. And then if you're interested in the festival, Sunflower Garden Fest is our Instagram handle, and our website, sunflowergardenfestival.com. We currently have our 2026 early bird tickets on sale, and we are already well into the planning for next year, and we have a number of really amazing events taking place from now until then that you can drop into. So definitely stay tuned with us online, join our newsletter, and we'll see you soon.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today. And I will link everything down below. Thank you so much, Luciana. This has been incredible.
Thank you.
All right, friends. If this episode lit a fire underneath you and you want to go take that big leap of faith, maybe share this with someone or hit that subscribe button or follow on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye, friends.